Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a really fundamental shift in digital security, the zero trust strategy. It's a powerful idea, and it's changing how everyone, from tiny startups to massive governments, protects their most valuable information.
So, where did this all come from? Well, to really get what zero trust is, you first have to understand the problem it was built to solve. For way too long, our approach to cybersecurity has been, let's just say, fundamentally flawed. Mostly because the world just changed way faster than our defenses could keep up.
For decades, we've treated security like it was some kind of medieval castle. We built this massive wall, our firewall, and this deep moat around our network, and we just kind of assumed that as long as we kept the bad guys out, everyone and everything on the inside was totally safe and could be trusted. But that whole castle and moat idea, it's completely obsolete now. On the left here, you see the old way of thinking. Build a strong perimeter, and anyone who gets inside is trusted. Simple. But look at the right. That's today's reality. With cloud services, remote work, and all our personal devices connecting from everywhere, well, there is no inside anymore. That perimeter has basically vanished, which makes the old way of doing things dangerously outdated.
So, this new reality, it demands a complete change in mindset. It's not about trying to build higher walls anymore. It's about rethinking the very concept of trust. We have to start from a place that's, well, a lot more skeptical. And this phrase right here, this is the absolute heart and soul of the zero trust mindset. Presume breach. It means you have to operate as if an attacker is already hanging out inside your network. And that one little change in thinking, it forces you to stop asking if you'll be breached and start planning for when. Which brings us to the official definition of zero trust. It's really a strategy that's built on a pretty simple idea. Nothing gets a free pass. Not a user, not a device, not an application, nothing. Trust is never just implied because you're on the right network. It has to be earned again and again and again. So the whole strategy really boils down to three simple but powerful rules. Number one, never trust, always verify. Every single request for access has to prove it's legit. 2, assume the environment is already hostile. And 3, like we just said, operate like you've already been breached. This forces you to think defensively and limit any potential damage right from the get-go. Okay, so what does this always verify thing actually look like in practice? Well, instead of that one-time check at the main gate, you have to imagine continuous, relentless verification for absolutely everything. The old idea of trusting someone just because of where they are, that's gone. A great way to picture this is to compare a castle key to a modern skyscraper key card. In the old model, right, your key gets you inside the castle walls and then you're free to roam around wherever you want. But zero trust, that's like the skyscraper. Your keycard gets checked in the lobby, it gets checked again to use the elevator, again when you get to your floor, and maybe one more time at your actual office door. Access is super specific, it's limited, and it's constantly being rechecked. Okay, so that's the mindset. That makes sense. But how do you actually do this? How does it get implemented? Well, it turns out this isn't just some vague philosophy. It's a really clear, actionable, 5-step blueprint that pretty much any organization can follow. And the process follows this really logical flow. First, you start by figuring out what your most critical stuff is. Then, you map out all the traffic that flows to and from it. Then, you can build a tiny little perimeter around just that surface, create really specific rules for who gets in, and finally, you just monitor everything constantly so you can learn and get better. The whole thing kicks off with this first step, and it is the most critical one, identifying your protect surface. You have to forget about trying to protect everything all at once. It's just not possible. Instead, you focus all of your initial energy on your most valuable digital assets. The data, the apps, the services that would cause the absolute most damage if they were ever compromised. These are your crown jewels. But here's the thing, a successful rollout isn't just about buying a bunch of new tools or flipping some switch. It is a fundamental change in an organization's DNA. It really requires a whole new way of thinking across the entire business. And this is where the focus might actually surprise you. You'd probably think zero trust is all about new technology, right? But that's only about 20% of the picture. The real work, a full 80% of it, is all about people and processes. It's about training your staff, getting the leaders on board, and actually redesigning your workflows so security is just built in from the very beginning, not tacked on at the end.
So after all that, what's the real payoff? Why does any of this matter? Because when you do it right, zero trust isn't some roadblock. It's actually a business enabler. Yeah, of course you get way better data protection, but you also streamline how you manage security, you slash compliance costs, and ultimately, you help the entire organization move faster and with a lot more confidence.
And that brings us to a final thought. Embracing this never trust mindset. It isn't about being paranoid. It's just about being realistic. It's about building a much more resilient, more secure foundation for everything we do online. And finally acknowledging that the digital world we all live in now is one without walls. It's security that's actually designed for the modern age.